welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner, and today I want to talk to you about one of my plans for 2025. I've already talked about it a little bit in other videos, but I wanted to talk about it more thoroughly in this video, in a separate video. When we first moved here, one of the videos I did was talking about how I love Stephen King and I want to read more of his works. And I had started what I call a Stephen King project. Now, unfortunately, I feel like I wasn't very good with keeping up with it because when the time between Stephen King books was a mile long, like there would be, I would buy a lot of his books because I would want to read them, but I wouldn't, I would space them out when I read them. And it got to a point where I decided to restart the Dark Tower series, and I still have not picked up picked up book 4, Wizard and Glass, to continue with it. So I want to change that, and I am so worried that I'm going to say these things, and then by the time 2025 rolls around, I'm not going to follow through with it, because then I'm going to be like, make excuses, or like, forget. And I know a lot of people would roll their eyes and be like, oh, it's not that hard, or, but I don't know why, but it's like I will say things in advance that I want to do, but then because no one's holding me accountable, and then I'm not holding myself accountable, and I don't follow through with it. Because I can't, I forget. I get, I just somehow the thought, slips my mind, or like I say I'm gonna do something and then I just don't do it. And like I feel like I need to start it right away, right as soon as the idea comes to me. Like I think even though this is for 2025, I feel like I should start this plan in this month, in December. But I keep saying, and yeah, it's recorded on here, but I don't like watching myself, rewatching myself and hearing my own voice. I don't like the sound of my voice. So I don't rewatch my videos, even for editing. And maybe that's a detriment to my videos because, maybe I could do better with editing, but I don't have the editing software skills. So I don't know how to edit my videos anyway. I don't know how to edit out pauses and all that, or like when I say or like too much. I don't know how to edit that kind of stuff out. And I know there are a lot of people, I'm not the only person who doesn't edit stuff like that out and just does things on the cuff, and it's perfectly fine, and people still enjoy their videos. I mean, you guys seem to enjoy my videos still. So I don't edit anything out. Basically, I don't know how to edit anything out. So I don't, have a reason to go back and rewatch my videos. The only thing I do is put a title card. Now, my family may disagree, and because I know my sister has suggested I do some editing, and I did ask for help from them, but they're not, they're not tech savvy either. They don't know this stuff. I mean, I do have cousins that know this kind of stuff, but I also don't want to buy extra software and stuff like that if this is perfectly fine. So, long story short, I only talk about this because I'm just saying I don't ever rewatch my videos to do anything about them, to change them or anything. But anyway, so back to the Stephen King project. My goal is to start over with that, and I feel like I need to start it now, even though it's a 2025 thing. Or at least that's my intention. But I feel like if I don't start now, then I won't continue, and I'll forget to do it in January, because it's still 2 months away. So long as I keep it priority in the front of my mind in the next 2 months, then hopefully I will remember to do it next year. But so far, here is my my plan. What I want to do is read a Stephen King book every 2 months, because his books are long. I mean, unless you're trying the shorter stories, like his collections of short stories. Which in that case, if I read more of those, then I can put 1 or 2 in a month, or at least once a month. But I think every 2 months is probably a good amount of time, unless it's a super long one like It, or Under the Dome, or 11/22/63, or The Stand, which, now I'm thinking about it, I took down The Stand as the biggest book in this pile, but now I'm thinking, oh, maybe I want to do 11/22/63. This is why I can't do TBRs, because all of a sudden I'll change my mind while I'm filming. So, some of those bigger ones might take 3 months or even longer than 3 months to read them. So, I feel like I need to prioritize the shorter ones first. Or, maybe at least read some of the shorter ones, because there are some shorter ones, while I'm reading some of the bigger ones, like The Stand or 11/22/63, which now I think about it, all of a sudden I want to read it. So I'm first gonna give you a list, show you the ones. Well, before I do that, let me mention the ones I have read, or that I at least remember, more recent reads. The Eyes of the Dragon, which I did really enjoy that. It's not one that I'm keeping though. Like, I mean, I like it and I enjoyed it, but I don't know if I'll reread it. But I could always get on Kindle. I think that's what I'm going to do from now on. If there's a book that I'm having second thoughts and changing my mind about, then I might end up getting them on Kindle. Just won't let, And then, I've reread both Salem's Lot and The Shining. I've reread Salem's Lot, and I also finally, a couple years ago, I finished The Shining, which I really enjoyed. And I really enjoyed my reread of Salem's Lot. I think I read that in 2017 or 18, my reread of that one. Because I had read it years ago. Many, many years ago. And I remember really enjoying it. So I've been meaning to reread it. So, I think it's just, was it just, no, not Jess Owens, but I think her name is also Jess, but another booktuber, it might not, her name might not be Jess, but there's another booktuber that I remember, she did a book review of it and read it, so that kind of reminded me that I've been wanting to reread it. And then I remember a few years ago reading Pet Sematary, and I read Full Dark New Stars, for that whole collection. Bag of Bones, I just watched the adaptation a few weeks ago, and I actually liked that movie. I don't know why other people don't like it. I mean, you can tell me why it's bad, but I personally enjoyed it. I mean, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't allow you to tell me why it's bad, because I liked it. And I mean, maybe it was just I don't know, maybe people think it was overacted. Maybe people don't think that the actors like Pierce Brosnan wasn't right for the part. Maybe there's something that they got wrong. There are things that they got wrong, like it wasn't a good adaptation. Just not a surprise, because a lot of people can't adapt Stephen King books. They have to change a lot, especially because his endings are hit or miss for people. And he goes into metaphysical a lot, and there's a lot of shit that happens in his book that you just cannot adapt, because it doesn't look as interesting on screen as you imagine it to be. I did start a reread of It, but I haven't finished it. I still got a long way to go. I have read I read Skeleton Crew. I read that one as well, and that was really fun. And I've also reread the first 3 Dark Tower books, because I wanted to start rereading them. Those were the first Stephen King books I ever really read, and finally I decided to reread them, and I actually like The Gunslinger. I don't know, again, that's another one where I don't get why people don't like it. I mean, even Stephen King is disappointed in and says it's not one of his better novels. But I actually thought it was cool. I thought it was fun and fun way to introduce the character of Roland. Um, I'm almost afraid to find out why people don't like it and what's wrong with it and why people say it's not a good book. Because I just want to like what I like without feeling like I have to not like it anymore because there are flaws. But then I guess I also maybe need, the other thing is I also feel like I need to know because I need to, be aware of its flaws so that, when I, I'm the book's cheerleader, I can be like, I acknowledge the flaws, I know what they are, but for me, it doesn't bother me, or I think it's still a good book. So the first three books are The Gunslinger, The Drawing of Three, and The Wastelands. The Wasteland, so I reread those, and there was a character in The Wastelands that I did not realize that doesn't become like really doesn't make his physical appearance until the end of the last chunk of the book. So I was kind of surprised that, I mean, it's a good chunk, and then he plays a role in the beginning of the fourth book. He's in the beginning of the fourth book, but then he kind of doesn't last through to the through the fourth book. So I was kind of surprised. But although he is a character that makes quite the impression for me at least. Let's see, I'm trying to think of what it is. Needful Things, I love that. I do want to reread that one. Like I said, I enjoyed Vagabond's Lissy's story. I did read that one. Unfortunately, I don't think I have I don't know if we have Apple TV or not. We might, because my parents like to watch that the show about I think he's a soccer coach, and a lot of people it's a really good show, and for a lot of people love it, and I think it's on Apple TV, and so a lot of people watch it, and so sometimes we have Apple TV, and I think Lissy's story is on Apple TV, so it's debate. I don't know if I can get access to it or not, the adaptation, if I want to watch it. I don't know what, I think that's all the ones I've read, which is what's so frustrating, because I feel like I've read a lot by him, but I really haven't. I barely scratched the surface of his works. So those are all the ones I've read, at least that I can remember that I've read. Okay, so now let's talk about the books I'm hoping to read this for this year, for this coming year. First of all, let me, I don't have the book to show you guys, to present you guys. I mean, I have a physical copy, but it's on my shelf, and I just decided that I think I might look into reading that one, and that's 11/22/63. That's one of my hardbacks, and it's a long book. So a lot of my hardbacks, for Stephen King works, I have gone back and forth with switching them from paperback, switching all the hardbacks out for paperbacks. But then it's like, I have them, and I don't want to read around if I have a desire to read them. So I keep thinking, well, maybe I should just read the hardback. Is it Dreamcatcher? Oh my god, I think that's what it's called. The video I was filming yesterday, I was trying to think of what this one Stephen King book is called. It's called Dreamcatcher, I think. And that was one that I started to read, but then I decided to DNF it because I just wasn't feeling it at the time. And a lot of reviews are very mixed. A lot of people were not happy with that one. And now I'm having second thoughts. Oh, and Revival. I totally forgot. I also read Revival. In like 2016 or 2017. Actually, it's probably more around the range of 2017 or 2018 when I read it. So I read that one as well, Revival. And I thought about buying it. I also thought about buying Tommyknockers yesterday when I went to BAM. But that's not the Stephen King book I got. I do have the adaptation, so I have seen the adaptation of that one. And I do have an adaptation of some of his other works as well. Like, Pet Sematary, I read that one. But like, I've been trying to stick to reading the books first before I watch adaptations, because I did buy 2 DVDs or either the DVDs or Blu-rays, I can't remember, of Stephen King movie adaptations, and I'm trying to resist watching them and just reading the book first before I watch them. But yeah, I can watch Pet Sematary now, so I will watch, and I think my adaptation collections have both adaptations. I think people still prefer the original adaptation that was made in like the 80s or the 70s. I don't know. Because people do not like the new one, which I feel like happens a lot. But I've also read I've read Misery, and there was one more. Oh, and Carrie. Carrie was the Stephen King book I read. I think I read Carrie in 2016, because I think I read it right before we moved. It was either 2016 or 2015 when I read that one. And I do want to rebuy that one at some point and reread it. So I read that one, but I've never seen the adaptations. I've never seen the Sissy Spacek adaptation. I watched Castle Rock, by the way. I'm not finished with it yet, but I watched the first season. And then there's another season which is focused on Annie Wilkes as a young woman. And I just started watching that, so I watched the first episode. I'm in the middle of episode 2, I believe. But I stopped watching it and got sidetracked by other stuff. So I do need to continue watching that one. And I want to watch it before the end of the year, because I want to watch it, I loved Misery. That one is one of my favorites. And there was one more I was just thinking of that I just remember that I read. I cannot remember what it's called. Which one it was. But anyway, so yeah, there's I'm trying to think. I did watch Sleepwalkers, which I'm trying to remember if that has an adaptation or not, because some of his works don't have adaptations. Like Rose Red doesn't have a book. So, not adaptations. I mean that some of them don't have a book. They're just a screenplay. Like Rose Red is a screenplay. Although there was someone, Stephen King asked another author to write a Ellen Rimbauer's diary, My Life at Rose Red. So that's not written by him, but that is a book based on the ghost that haunts Rose Red, her diary. So, and I did read that. So I guess it kind of counts, because it is, it is part of his oeuvre. It's just not written by him. But, and then there's, I think, Creepshow. He wrote that as well, or was at least involved in the screenplay of that. I was trying not to cough, but I got this tickle in my throat. But anyway, Sleepwalkers, I watched that, and I think that has a book, but I didn't read it. So I watched that one. That one might have been like a short work, like a short story or novella or something. But I didn't read. I watched the adaptation with Brian Krause, and that was fun. It was campy. It's kind of fun. Like I feel like the Sleepwalker, the monster in that feels kind of like a vampire. But yeah, it was fun, especially to see Brian Krause play a darker character. Although he does some things in that not the monsters, not the stuff where the monster stuff, but there's his relationship with the mom is very weird. But it's also a horror book, so. Okay, now we can finally, I think that's all of the ones I've read. So now I think we can finally get to the ones that I'm hoping to read in 2025. Like I said, I'm hoping, I just wanted to add 11/22/63, but I don't know. because that's a long one, and I already have another long one on here. But first we have Wizard and Glass. This is the 4th book in the Dark Tower series. And what's interesting about this one is that Roland is telling his quartet a story of his past. So it doesn't it's not focused on the original group of characters in this one. And I distinctly remember someone reading somewhere or someone saying on a video that, oh, you don't have to read it because it's not focused on the original quartet. I mean, I could be remembering wrong, but I think I remember someone saying that. With that being said, I'm still obviously going to read it. Because it's part of the series either way. And maybe someone didn't tell me that. Maybe I just misheard. But I thought I remember someone saying that they feel like I don't have to read it because it's not a part of the original group of characters. But I think I'm on the part where we go into the story of Roland's past. So that one I want to read, but that one is a longer work. And this one is about... I mean, the funny thing is Stephen King's very easy to read. He has a very easy read and writing style. It's just his books are super long. Not all of them, but a lot of them are. So we have... Yeah, this is like in the 800s. So, yeah. So there's that one. And that's why I only put one Dark Tower book on here. Because I feel like I'm not going to get to the other Dark Tower. I mean, maybe I will. Maybe I'll get to book 5. I don't know. But then we have... I'll come back to those. Okay, so... the other really long one, which is The Stand, which is about apocalypse, a virus of some kind wipes out half the human population, and there are a handful of survivors, and there is these two figures, this Mother Abigail, who's this woman who is a healer, and there's people that follow her, but she also has an enemy, and Randall Flagg, known as the Dark Man, and he has his own followers. So this has the Randall Flagg in it, which his first book, technically his origin is The Eyes of the Dragon. What happened? His origin of his character is in The Eyes of the Dragon. But yeah, I know a lot of people have delayed reading this. Either you have people who really want to read it, or people who were like afraid to read it because of, with when COVID-19 happened, there was a surge of these type of books, and you have people that didn't want to read them because it was too close to home, and then people that just couldn't help themselves and wanted to read these kinds of books were inspired to read them. So I've been meaning to get back to this one. And I already started it because I read the mass market version, but, that was around the time I started thinking, I want to get these regular size paperbacks instead of having mass markets. So there's that. And then we have... Oh, I forgot to grab it. So then we have Fairy Tale. Which, let me see, do I have it here? No, I think I put it back on the shelf. But we have Fairy Tale by Stephen King as well. That was one of his more recent releases. It's one of those portal fantasies, and I decided I wanted to read it in December. So I want to get to that one as well. I forgot to grab it so I could show you guys. And then we have The Talisman. Let me see if it's over here somewhere. I don't see it. It's somewhere, but it is one that I started. I brought with me to my grandma's house, and I did start reading it. This is kind of another portal fantasy story. except for instead of jumping through a physical portal, you have the character drinking this liquid that transports him to this other world. So I did start that one, and I want to continue with it. And then we have, this is a collection of a handful of Bachman's novels. So Richard Bachman is the pseudonym of Stephen King, but then someone recognized that there were aspects of Bachman that reminded them of Stephen King, so someone ended up figuring it out, and he had to sell, and I think both Misery and The Dark Half were kind of about him dealing with that. But this essentially has okay. So it's kind of no. So this that's where I looked. So this has Rage, The Long Walk, Roadwork, and The Running Man. So it's 4 of his early novels under Bachman. I know The Running Man was made into an adaptation starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, I think. So it's in the year 2025. The best men run for president. They run for their lives, which it's funny. It's gonna be 2025 next year. Which is interesting. The best men don't run for president. And then Roadwork. What happens when one good, angry man fights back is a murder, and then some. The Long Walk. I know this is Emily Fox's favorite one, which is saying a lot because she has a very complicated relationship with King. Some of his work she loves, some of it doesn't, but I know she enjoyed The Long Walk, and I think there was talk of it being adapted. Only death can keep you from the finish line in the ultimate competition of all too near future. So I think from what I've heard, this one is basically when boys turn 8, I don't know if it's just boys, but I guess it's not just boys, but when you turn 18, you have to do this long walk where you have to keep walking the whole time. You can't stop. If you stop, you're going to be beaten and you're going to get in trouble, and which is really funny because, which it's kind of horrible to hear about because, what if they have to go pee or something? And then you have Rage, a high school show and tell session explodes into a nightmare of evil. And I think this was one that, kind of disappeared from the ether. Rage did. And now it's come back. But, so I want to read at least one of these, if not all of them. Or maybe, read 2 this year, and then next year read Rage and The Long Walk this year, and then read Roadwork and The Running Man next year. Or maybe do Rage and The Long Walk in the beginning of the year, and then do Roadwork and The Running Man at the end of the year. Of course, I say these, and then, like I said, I have a bad habit of not following through and forgetting to do that. But we will see. Yeah, so I want to read these as well. Let's see. Let's do we have. Like I said, I would like to try 11/22/63. I think I would like to start that one. Again, that's another one that I don't have. I have a physical copy, but it's still on my shelf, and I don't feel like getting up and getting it. So then we have my more recently acquired Stephen King books. Stephen King's Christine. This is about the haunted car. which is not the first haunted car story he's done. I debated about reading this. I kept going back and forth. And if I was going to read this or not, because I don't know how I feel about cars, stories about cars. But I figured I'd buy it. I mean, it was the only one I was, because I'm still debating about Cujo, if I could handle Cujo, because I'm a dog person. I love dogs. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to read about a dog that gets rabies and goes crazy, because that just sounds like such a heartbreaking story. And I remember Emily Fox talking about reading that one, and at one point you do have the perspective of the dog and how sick the dog feels and stuff, and oh my god, I don't know if I could do it. It would be so hard to read. But I might still, just to read it. Like, I'm even considering reading the, it's not Mr. Mercedes trilogy, it's something else. It's under a different name. It's the name of the detective. But I'm just gonna call it the Mr. Mercedes trilogy. Oh, Bill Hodges trilogy. I might give that series another shot. I don't know. But yeah, so this is Christine, and I do have the movie adaptation of this one. So I might, so I went ahead and bought it. And I really like these covers. I don't know why. I think they're really cool. Very retro looking, these covers. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a shot. And then the one I got at BAM the other day that I decided on, it was between this one and the Tommyknockers. And this was a book that I wanted to get last time, but I kept putting it off. And then by the time I decided to buy it before, obviously I bought it yesterday, but when I was like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and buy it, it wasn't there. Which wasn't entirely a bad thing, because there were so many options I had, and it was like, it lessened my options, lessened the amount of choices I had to make. And then I saw it there yesterday when I went, so I was like, let me just buy it. And I put Tommyknockers aside, and I'll come back and buy Tommyknockers another time, or I'll just get it off thriftbooks.com, or put it on my Amazon wish list. I don't know. But this is Dead Zone. This is about a guy who I think he's a psychometry. He basically could touch objects and see visions of who handled them and the object's history. And he got that power apparently from a near-death experience. And I do believe this was adapted and starring, what is his name? I'm trying to think of his name. I can't think of the actor's. I can't remember the actor's name. I can picture him, but he was the guy who played the Headless Horseman in Sleepy Hollow. He's been on SNL a few times, and I remember he played one of his main characters that he created on SNL was the Continental. And then I cannot think of his name, and I think he was in the movie Joe Dirt. I can picture him, and I'm sure hearing what he's been in, you guys will probably know what I'm talking about. But he played the main character, Johnny Smith, which I did not realize, because that actor is an adult. And I think he was I don't know if he's supposed to be a teenager, but I think he's a teenager. The character, Johnny, is a teenager. Or maybe late teens, early 20s, I don't know. But of course, he got the power via a near-death experience. So I figured I want to read these as well. Let's see how long these are. Yeah, it's probably a little closer to the same length as, it's in the 600s. Yeah, so it's not exact, it's just past the 500 page mark. I mean, well, it's in the 600s, so it's more than just past, but it's only like 100 past. And then the Dead Zone is 511. So the Dead Zone is shorter than Christine. So yeah, these are some of the shorter works. But I mean, I still have plenty of Stephen King works to read. Like I have I have 3 more Dark Tower books to read after I read Wizarding Glass, because I have book 5, which is A Song of Calla, and then book 6 I think is Song of Susanna, or is that book 7? No, that's book 6, and then we have book 7, which is The Dark Tower. So I have 3 more books after I read Wizarding Glass to read. And then I have some of his other ones like Desperation and Under the Dome. And like I said, I might read 11/22/63, but I might save it for next year. I might save it for 2026. But so yeah, those are the ones at the moment I'm considering to read in 2025. So, yeah, so here's hoping that I will actually make sure I read a Stephen King book every month or every 2 months. But yeah, I really want to be able to talk about these regularly in videos and be able to update you on a regular basis instead of spacing out my updates to the point where I don't remember what I've already talked about. And I don't remember what I've already showed you guys, which is why I stopped doing it, because it was like I didn't have anything to talk to you guys about. So I want to make sure I be more focused with that project and actually pursue it more seriously. Anyway, so if you guys are Stephen King, then please give this video a thumbs up and click subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell notification icon if you want to be notified about my latest videos. And I hope you are enjoying your reading. Do you like Stephen King? I'd love to know if you do or not. What's your favorite Stephen King book if you do? And I will talk to y'all later. Alright, bye!